Hello, guys and gals, and welcome. Welcome. So today we're going to be talking about mercenaries. That's right. So mercenaries are a part of the season for Diablo 4, season 6. The what is it called? Vessel of Hatred, right? And they also have it. They also call it the Season of Hatred or something. I can't remember. There's another name for the season itself, despite this the expansion. But the mercenaries themselves are a feature that I wanted to go over with you guys and talk about. First off, let's talk about their location. You have to do the campaign to get access to these. It's very early on in the campaign. You will meet this guy, which is Raheir. Not much of a spoiler here. It's pretty much just a small, very tiny part of the campaign, and it's really just an introduction to the mercenaries themselves. Once you have this introduction into the mercenary room, you do have to go and get all of the mercenaries. So there are individual quests for each one of the mercenaries. There is Varyana the Berserker Crone, who is a reformed cannibal. Yeah. There is Subo, the bounty hunter, who literally has a map pack program installed in his head. And we also have Aldkin, the cursed child. So there are a total of 4 mercenaries. And they all have some pretty unique features. Basically, how it works is you have 2 different forms of the mercenary. There is the mercenary that you hire. That is the mercenary that's going to travel with you and is actually going to support you by your side. You can only have 1 mercenary hired at a time, so you go around and you can actually choose which mercenary you want, and you do have to level them up, basically. When you level them up, you can actually choose their skills, and you can make your character into what you want. In fact, let me move myself out of the way here so you guys can get a better look at the skill panel. But basically, you get 4 skill points. Once you have 4 skill points, you can fully deck out the character screen, and you can make it so that you have your character set up the way you want. There are also a passive bonus for the mercenaries. So each mercenary has their own passive bonus, as you can see with Varyana. Varyana's is 10 stacks of Massacre, gives you 5% movement speed, all the way up to 100 stacks, gives you 20% movement speed. And this movement speed is going to be something that is going to help you tremendously as you're going forward. But you get this essentially just for choosing her and hiring her at any point. For Subo, Subo also has his own specific passive. His passive is actually kind of crazy, and I do want to show it to you. Although I will also give you a little bit of a warning with it as well, is that his passive can mess around with some of the map mechanics. Like for instance, when you go into the new time attack dungeon, there are monsters that are marked for time attack. They show that they are the monsters that you kill to gain time in the dungeon. Well, when you have Subo, they don't show up. Instead, they show up as regular monsters like everything else. Now, as you can see up here in the corner, although it's kind of hard to, see it because it's so far away, this is the map pack program that he comes with. And I can actually, let's zoom in on this just for the fun of it. It'll take me a second to get it all zoomed in, but that way you guys can have a better look at what he offers in terms of his little map pack program. Honestly, it's really cool to have him when you're farming regular loot and stuff like that, because he does actually do pretty good. Let me prevent myself from dying here real quick. There we go. So as you can see on the map, we have, it's kind of hard to do this. See, there's an ore vein, right? He also marks out the Gallovine, which is your bundled herbs. He also marks out the monsters and tells you what their names are and everything. It's really freaking awesome. On top of this, there's also special designations for some monsters that are on quests. And for the most part, he pretty much just highlights everything on the map. That's his passive ability, and it's a very cool passive ability. A lot of people are going to have a lot of fun with Subo and his little pseudo map hack program. Other mercenaries also have their own specific passive effects. And for instance, if we go to the Aldkin child actually has 2 different passive effects depending on which part of the tree that you choose when you are using it. So if we go to the Aldkin, and you look at the Blasphemous Fate, Blasphemous Fate is, obviously he turns into a demon child at some point, but it also says, Curse of Darkness, you and nearby enemies become vulnerable. So Everything is vulnerable. You're vulnerable. The monsters are vulnerable. The whole world's vulnerable. It basically just offers you permanent vulnerability on everything, including yourself. Um, and then the other side of the equation, the other passive, if you go to the fire side, is Curse of Flames, which is your direct damage burns enemies for 30% damage over 3 seconds, but you lose 10% of your maximum resource per second. So basically, there's a Kiss Curse kind of a thing going on with Aldkin, and there's obviously 2 whole trees that you can go to, the fire and the kind of the shadow side. Now, Raheir also has an interesting passive. His passive is when you would be damaged for at least 15% of your current life at once, Raheir comes to your aid and negates the damage, knocking down close enemies for 2 seconds and grants you unstoppable for 0.5. This one's going to be really popular, I think, with the hardcore crowd, because Raheir is essentially going to save your life in dangerous situations. So, not exactly a terrible option. He also has the ability to give you like a big barrier that protects you for 90% of the damage that would be dealt to you. So like, it's an interesting option. And that pretty much covers the passive effects. Now, each of the characters has 2 pathways that you can go down with a myriad of abilities, like Shield Charge. You've got Provoke, Crater, Ground Slam, Bastion, and you've got Shield Throw. But each one of these abilities can be customized a little bit by choosing specific bonuses. Like, for instance, you can get 15% armor with Raheir's Guard, or you can get, a slowdown. You can get 15% all resistances with Raheir's Aegeus, or you can grab, like the Draw Fire when you use a healing potion or her taunts enemies. Every one of these passives offers specific bonuses that are going to enhance the skill in a specific way and give you more of a benefit from using them. And they all have this. So all of the mercenaries have their own specific bonuses, and you're going to spend a little bit of time, playing around, trying to customize them exactly what you want. Do you want attack speed? Well, Hysteria gives attack speed. Do you want Bloodthirst attack speed bonuses? There you go. You get even more attack speeds. So you got attack speed and more attack speed. Or you could go down other trees, like for instance, you could get a pull-in from the Whirlwind ability, or you could grab the Overpower, so guaranteed Overpower from Dismembering, and so forth and so on. There's a lot of really, really fun ones in here that have to do with knocking enemies down, applying damage over time effects, giving you more attack speed, and it really offers you the ability to customize your character. Like, for instance, Subo has a lot of stuff that has to do with movement speed. He also has some pretty interesting ones that add crowd control damage, different types of crowd controls. Like, for instance, this one is vulnerable damage, and then we also have a multiplier for critical strike damage if you're building critical strike. Now, each one of these abilities does have a cooldown, though. So if you're looking at the abilities and you're trying to figure out how useful it could be, also keep in mind that some of the abilities have longer cooldowns than others. There is a way that you can make the cooldowns reset, which is also kind of interesting. So if you go to the Cursed Toy Box from the Aldkin, it's basically the Occultist, and there is an aspect that actually is called the Aspect of Assistance, and the Aspect of Assistance gives you a 33% reduction in the cooldown of your reinforcement after casting your ultimate. So you basically can get those effects to happen faster through that. And there are some various tools in here that you can utilize. Obviously, there's the blacksmith anvil. There is also the stash in here. There is a rings and coffer that you can sell to. And on top of that, there is also the barter. So the bartering is a special mechanic that is designed around the mercenaries, and you gain basically like rapport through them when you're dealing with the mercenaries. So as you're leveling with them, you get rapport, and the rapport unlocks boxes as well as coins, and these boxes and coins and things like this, depending on what they are, will give you various things. Like sometimes they give you a box that you can open, sometimes you end up with more coins that you can get that you can spend with. They're called pale marks, and I'm kind of in the way of the bartering window now, but let's talk about the other thing before we get into the bartering, and we'll dive into that a little bit deeper in just a second. The next feature, I believe, is the reinforcements. We're going to go over the reinforcements in detail.
Mr. Goody Two Shoes, Mr. Goody Two Shoes. Ginger Evil Mentor here. Why bother farming when you can go to MMOEXP.com and simply purchase your items in gold? GGM would have you farm the items. What a pathetic being. Use code GEM Ginger Evil Mentor for 6% off your entire purchase. And don't tell Ginger Gaming Mentor that I was here.
So when you're in a group, and you don't get access to your hired mercenary. However, when you're in a group, you do get access to your enforcement mercenary. Now, your enforcement mercenary is a different mercenary than your regular ones. And basically, what it is that you get a single skill from his, entire skill tree that you can trigger on anything that you want. So you can trigger it either on like casting when a player is hit with a control impairing effect. You can have it set up so that it happens when you become injured. You can have it set up when a player casts any skill, or you can assign it to a specific skill so that it only happens when you trigger it deliberately from that skill, which is pretty neat. You then can choose between all of the available skills that are on that particular mercenary. Like, for instance, for Subo, you can get the wire trap, the Molotov, the cover fire, the trip mines, the snipe, or the explosive charge. So depending on what you're trying to do, you could get various effects through that method. With the Varyana, you can do the same thing. So you can get her abilities as well as the reinforcements. From what I've been able to test, and I did do a little bit of extensive testing on this, is that it does not seem like you can get the passive effects from the abilities. At least most of them. Some of them do give you the passive effects. Like, for instance, when I tested his Molotov, the Molotov, one of the passive effects on the Molotov is that he'll give you a potion. And I did notice that I would get the potion from the Molotov. But then I decided to check out other abilities, like, for instance, Varyana's Bloodthirst ability, which gives you attack speed. And there's a passive which makes the attack speed higher. It did not seem to translate through. I also tested out Raheir's ability with the enforcements, for instance, to test out... I got lots of stuff from him. I just tested out the, was it the Bastion, which is the shield. I wanted to see if like some of his abilities would transfer over, and it didn't seem to transfer over. So the passive effects don't seem to transfer over to the actual reinforcement ability. Now, how this works is that when you're out in the world and you are fighting things, let's get just him because I want to highlight him. When you're fighting things, you can assign a specific skill, right? So if I'm out and I'm fighting things, I'll have it set up for Thrash so that he's going to make a barrier for me. And he can make that barrier on that same cooldown that he would normally have access to. It's a 90% damage reduction barrier. And all you got to do is fight stuff. So... bam, and there we go. Now we have the 90% damage reduction barrier, and he's going to use that anytime I use the specific ability that I assign to it. You can obviously tie that together with your defensive, which might be a good choice as well. All of them can be set up for reinforcements. Now, unfortunately, you do not get the passive effect through reinforcements. So whatever the passive effect is of the specific mercenary, you're not going to get the passives for that. You do have to use them to level them up. So, like, for instance, if you take a look at the Aldkin, I only have 1 point right now for the Aldkin because I haven't really done a lot of leveling with him yet. And I also haven't leveled up his rapport system either. So I've basically got nothing on that. However, if you look at my Varyana, I've got all of her skill points, and I can assign anything I want to her, and I can also grab pretty much all the rewards. I'm almost finished out on the rewards with Varyana because I've been using her the most. Now, speaking of other rewards that you get from the mercenaries, let me move myself back over to the other side because we're going to be looking at the bartering system. Now, at some point or another, you get a small little quest to go and find this girl, and when you find her, she offers bartering services. Now, the bartering services are tied to the mercenaries. When you look inside of the panel for the mercenaries, just like I was showing you guys earlier, the panel has the rapport system, and the rapport system is tied to what you get from those mercenaries. So, like, when you're looking through this panel and you see things like this, which is legendary bartering upgrade, an additional legendary item will be offered when bartering with a chance of being a cash or masterworking obols. Bartering, this will go into effect on the next new stock delivery. The more difficult an item is to obtain, the less likely it will be to be offered. Now, there is a free restock every single day for this. So if you look down here, it says restock supply fee. There's no fee for it for the first time you restock it every single day. And you can see there's some pretty specific items in here, like Boots of Frosty Strides. This is not like a gambling window, but more so you actually can see what's in here and grab it. Like, for instance, maybe there might be a perfect Edgemasters in here or something of that nature. There's also caches in here that have a large number of items. So this one in particular is the Defensives cache, and it's going to contain a whole bunch of defensive aspects. As you can see, it's actually pretty darn handy because you're now I've got a whole bunch of defensive aspects that I can utilize, or might be better than what I've got and might not, right? These are some of the ones that you get from like them when you're leveling. So like when you're leveling them up, this is Raheir's, and this one here is also Raheir's. So as you can see, there's a lot of stuff that you can potentially get through this. Now, if you're looking in the master working system and the bartering system, and you don't see anything that you'd like, you can refresh it, right? So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna refresh it. Okay, so now we've got a master working cache. We've got a defensive cache aspect. We've got a utility aspect cache. I don't need that one. That's not a very good potent exchange. So I don't want any of that stuff, but I probably would like the master working cache, so let's grab that. And let's also grab the defensive cache, and let's see what those are. Oh, we got a utility cache too. Let's grab that as well. We got a lot of caches. Now, at this point, I can pretty much pay 100 to refresh it, or I could wait till tomorrow and get a refresh for free. But let's go ahead and pay 100 to refresh it. And so now we've got a movement aspect cache. Bristling Vengeance, 50%. Bristling Vengeance, 96. That's pretty low because it's a double. Yeah. Don't need that one. Don't need that one. A movement cache. I think I'm going to take the movement cache. Yeah, let's take the movement cache. So, as you can see here, I can pick up a lot of stuff from this if I'm, careful with what I'm using. So let's check the movement cache. Look at that. All boots. Just boots, 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 boots. Did we get anything good? I'm not sure. But we definitely got a whole bunch of exactly what we were looking for. So that's certainly not terrible. We've got the utility cache. Amulets and gloves. We got... let's see if we'll see if we got any upgrades at the vendor. We also got the defensive cache aspect, which is going to be all chest armors and pants. And then we also grabbed the masterworking cache, which is going to be obducite and ovals. Interesting. So how many upgrades did we end up with? Let's take a look at the blacksmith. Nice. We got an upgrade for our basic skills. Damage reduction. I need that. I'm actually using that right now. Or I will be as soon as I get a Forgotten Soul to re-imbue it on the piece of armor. And of course, if the armor's not good, I'm actually trying to get ancestrals at this point. I did not see a single ancestral drop, so that's also a thing, I guess. I'm currently at Torment 2, I believe. Yeah, Torment 2. So I'm going to go ahead and do this. I actually want to upgrade all these aspects. You can see that there are upgrades to my aspects because they have the little icon at the top, which means that they're definitely going to be an upgrade for me. And right now I'm rebuilding all my aspects and everything because this is a brand new account, season, and I don't have access to any of the old stuff. So, to be honest with you, Mercenaries, absolutely amazing. You can obviously get them right here. This is the den. Though you do have to do the campaign quest to get here. I'm not sure if I pointed it out, but I'll just point it out again. It's just like kind of like southeasterly from Gayakul. You do have to go right here to get here. Once you activate the main quest with Raheir, which is, like I said, very short into the campaign, you then have to go on separate priority quests that are not tied to the campaign to get access to all the other mercenaries. The Mercenaries aren't really that hard to get, but their stories are actually pretty neat. There is a waypoint here, which is also important. And on top of that, not only is there a waypoint here, but there is also a portals that form there. So not all waypoints have portals that form next to them, so that you can teleport back to specific places. But like for instance, if I'm out here and I teleport back to the den, my portal does appear here, and I can take that portal back. So it's actually pretty nice. The whole setup is very nice. You got a lot of the stuff that you need here. Not everything is here. What is missing from this place? There are a couple things. There's no jeweler here. There's also, I mean, so we've got the occultist, we've got the blacksmith, we've got like a bartering place that we can sell stuff to, and we've also have the main bartering window. But if you go to the map and you like hold your mouse over top of a city, you see that the city has like the level difficulty change. There's no difficulty change here. The city also has, you know, like the little potion healer, the alchemist. There's no alchemist. The jeweler to like remove and create jewels with. That's also missing. There's definitely quite a few things that are missing from the mercenary area, but there's enough there to be useful most of the time. You do have to be here to change your mercenary and enlist reinforcements, but you do not have to be here to change the way that their skills work. So as an example, let me just go to a random place. And I'm going to show you. We'll go to Kuros Docks. And why not? We'll go to why not? Why not the Kuros Docks? And when you're in the Kuros Docks, you're going to hold Shift and M, and Shift and M is going to bring up your mercenary panel. If you have the mercenary set as your primary, you can change their skills on the go. You can also accept their rewards on the go through the rapport system. The reinforcement, you cannot change their skills on the go. You would have to go back and hire them as your mercenary to change their skills, but you can adjust which one you have in the slot, so you can change, you know, whether you want Bastion or whether you want Shield Throw or whatever, and you can also adjust how it triggers on the go, so you don't have to go back there and do that every single time. There's also a very convenient button, which I am covering up right down here at the bottom, that says Travel to the Den. So you don't even have to teleport or find it on the map. You can just open this panel, Shift M, and then you can hit Travel to the Den, and it will have a teleport confirmation that pops up, and you just click on Teleport to the Den. So you don't even have to find it on the map. Just Shift M, open up your panel, teleport to the den. You're done. I think that's pretty much it when it comes to the mercenaries. There are tons and tons of ways that you can potentially use these to your advantage. So, you know, talking about like the advantages that they have, obviously some of them are applying movement speed bonuses, and you know, like depending on what kind of character you are, like if you're an eagle character, you're going to get access to multipliers based on your movement speed, so that's going to be really good. Some characters are really based on attack speed, like the Jaguar, and the Jaguar could definitely use additional attack speed bonuses to try and get to like the maximum cap. You know, the various characters and the various ways that you're setting up your build can definitely strongly be impacted by having the correct mercenary in place, or you just grab Subo for the map hack program so that you can see where all the nodes are. And trust me, you're going to need it, because we are constantly running out of iron on a regular basis, and iron is iron nodes. So as you're running around with Subo, you're going to want to keep an eye on the minimap for those iron nodes and click on as many of them as you possibly can, because, well, you know, you're going to want to grab them. That's pretty much all there is to it. I'm going to be going over more stuff, unique items, all sorts of things, but this is just the first video of many. As always, I do appreciate you guys and gals joining me for these fun little adventures, and as always, keep watching.